parenting is a very difficult equation in terms of a sleep solution. Certainly there are things that can help children sleep better. Having a bedroom, if there's one piece of recommendation advice I would give to parents for their children, it would be having a bedroom, a sleep routine. So, bathe your child every night, read a book every night, have a cuddle every night, have a conversation. Whatever it is that you feel works, establish that as a routine and then don't let it go. Keep that routine regular. That's been demonstrated to be hugely helpful. Then for parents, it's tricky. Work-life balance, harmony gets in the way. If you can try to structure it where if there are two parents, and not everyone has that, of course, but if there are, trying to think about the split shift workload, either dependent on your work schedules or dependent on your natural, what we call your chronotype. So there are morning people and there are evening people. And this is it's not a choice. People think, I want to be a morning person. It's not your choice, it's your genetics. We know the genes that dictate what's called your chronotype, whether you're a morning lark or you're an evening owl, you're a night owl. So some parents, if they're the night owls, maybe during infancy, they can take the first shift because they like to naturally stay awake late into the night anyway. And then the person who's the morning type can come in and pick up the morning shift. If you are of that separated type, some people are both types, the same, and then that doesn't work. It's a very difficult equation to solve. And you could also just think back from an evolutionary perspective as to how have we been dealing with this. And what's interesting is that if you look at hunter-gatherer tribes whose way of life hasn't changed for thousands of years, they don't sleep in the way that we do. They don't sleep as a separate individual entity. They don't tend to co-sleep. They actually group sleep. They sleep as a collective. Family members, aunts and uncles, they all sleep, legs intertwined. And so, sometimes childcare would actually be shared throughout the night amongst a smaller family community. And it's probably the reason that, by the way, we have these things called chronotypes, morning types and evening types. And I put a theory out there in the book as to why. Why aren't we all of the same? Why are we all separated in this genetic edict of wanting to stay awake late or wanting to be up early? And I think one answer is because as we were sleeping as a collective, we would all be vulnerable for that 8 hours. And that's a desperate vulnerability. But what if you were to program some variance genetically, where some people would probably be staying awake until 2 a.m., 3 a.m., because that's just natural, their tendency. And then other people would be waking up at, let's say, 5 a.m. So now, all of a sudden, what you may have is everyone gets 8 hours of sleep, but you as a species, as a collective, you're only vulnerable for maybe just 2 or 3 hours. So you've halved or even quartered the amount of vulnerability time. What a brilliant solution by Mother Nature. Everyone still gets 8 hours, but you're not vulnerable for 8 hours. You're only vulnerable for 2 because of the collective sleeping at different shifts. Love, elegant design. But coming back to the family equation, I think it's a very hard nut to crack.